Look at that intro. What do you know? It's a football Friday here on sportsbookreview.com. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. And we got some hot topics of the day. And look at the graphics that continue to roll through here, making improvements day by day by day. The more people that watch the show, the more graphics that we get. Kyle, welcome in. Good to talk some football with you today.
I'm excited to talk football, and I love the topics today. The USFL, there's nothing near and dear to my heart than the USFL. We get to bag on Matt Nagy. It looks like I'll get to make fun of Cam Newton a little bit. This is going to be a good day. Happy to be here. Football Friday. Cheers, folks.
No, it certainly is. And these are the topics that we like because not a lot's going on around. You see like, hey, big news of the day. Whoa, Devonta Smith signed his contract with the Eagles. I mean, that's where we're at because it's June. We're in between OTAs. We're in between training camps that are coming up in just about a month's time right now. Can you believe it? So football is coming fast for us, but it's never too early, Kyle, to get after it in the NFL and talk about coaches that are on the hot seat. Now, before we get to, you see the picture up here. You guys know I like to go up to Chicago all the time, which we're going to get to in a few moments. But the stuff that makes me laugh the most, Kyle, is depending on which, they're not reports because nobody knows if a coach really is on the hot seat or not. But the fact that Houston Texans David Culley is on the hot seat and hasn't coached the game yet, that's fantastic, Kyle. It really is.
I love it. It's absolute. It's the Jim Tom Sula effect, right? That 1980 shot-putting Olympian. That is Jim Tom Sula. And then, yes, absolutely. And it's not going to shock me if he's fired very quickly, honestly. That team is going to be so bad. I mean, it's going to be an awful, awful team. And that I feel bad for him for taking the job. I don't know why he took the job. I get
money. I'll take it.
Yeah, money. It's not going to look great on his career. I'm glad he got the opportunity. It's very, very bizarre. And yeah, it won't shock me if he's fired after 1 year, and it won't even be his fault. It'll still be Bill O'Brien. Can they fire Bill O'Brien again? What can they possibly do to Bill O'Brien? Because sue him. What can you do to him? Because this is all Bill O'Brien's fault, right? It's not even this guy's fault. It's Deshaun Watson being a weirdo and whacking his thing around, and Bill O'Brien trading away DeAndre Hopkins for a Big Mac and a High C orange drink from McDonald's. Very, very bizarre. But I'm gonna have some fun bagging on some it's different this year, right? Last year we knew there were a lot. Like we knew Doug Marrone was toast in Jacksonville. We knew Adam Gase was toast with the Jets. This year, our guy Matt Nagy, who we're going to rip on, he's the only real clear-cut favorite, right? Maybe Vic Fangio, but we'll get to more of that as we go on.
No, let's bring up Matt Nagy here because we put there's no surprise that I put him on the front of the thumbnail here just to have some fun with it because I like fan bases that are extremely passionate. The apathetic fan bases where it's like, it's no big deal. We're just going to enjoy a day of football here. I don't get down like that. You're talking about the monsters of the Midway, the Chicago Bears, who should be a dynasty franchise, a massive city, massive amounts of money. They don't spend it all the time, and some of the decisions they make are absolutely outlandish. Before we get to the coach here, Kyle, some interesting news starting to break within the foundations of the Chicago Bears ownership. Looks like they could possibly be for sale. And if you are a Chicago fan out there and you say, here is my chance, get it out of the family atmosphere where grandma runs everything and put it into a hands of a guy like, let's just say, Amazon. Jeff Bezos buys the team. More money than God. And he says, I don't care if I make money on this organization. Let's just break even, spend to the limit, get the best of the best. Coaching, front office, analytics, scouting departments, and get after it. Chicago would be an absolute monster here like they used to be way back in the day. Sort of falling off here because you have the chance now. You drafted Justin Fields. Maybe you have your quarterback of the future. Blow out that front office that is horrendous. Blow out Matt Nagy, who is a disaster as a head coach. Blow out the entire organization from the top end of the spectrum with ownership, and you have a brand new day and a massive sleeping giant here, Kyle, in Chicago.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. Let me throw in a dark horse. We're going to talk about the USFL later. I know one man who's very popular and very polarizing who has always wanted to own a professional sports team. What if our former president, Mr. Donald J. Trump, were to buy the Bears? Now, I have a better idea. What if we take our massive SBR salaries? We're going to probably have to ask for a raise.
Yeah.
And then you have Donnie RightSide and Kyle running the Bears. That team would be a championship team in 2 years. I'm down with that. But Donnie's got the upfront cash. So all the upfront cash is Donnie's, and I'll come in the back end. you know.
Yeah, as soon as the Kansas City Royals cash into that, I'm making an offer on the Bears. I mean, there's no question about it. But from a coaching end of a perspective on the hot seat, rightfully so. You know, Kyle, we just talked about David Culley. We made a joke about the Texas organization. To you, does it not feel like Texas is the Bears looking into the mirror at each other? Because you have a franchise where the front office does not care about you as the fans and doesn't care about the team. They're in preservation mode. Let's sell draft picks. Let's make some changes here. Let's do anything to keep us in power with that paycheck coming, like Bill O'Brien was doing. I don't care what happens in 10 years. I don't care what happens in 5 years. I'll trade every draft pick. So if I make the playoffs, you can't fire me. Look how good a job I did. It seems like that's what's going on with the Bears. They took a massive swing and miss on Trubisky, which should have fired the entire front office. You should have a new regime in here trying to work on a fresh quarterback who can be something in the NFL. But I don't trust anything the organization does. The faster Matt Nagy is fired and Ryan Pace, the better it is for the Chicago Bears' future.
Yeah, 100% agree. And this has to be unless Justin Fields starts week 1 and that team goes absolutely ballistic. And there is opportunity in that division, right? We got Aaron Rodgers unhappy. If for some reason, which I don't see happening, but Aaron Rodgers doesn't play in Green Bay, that team's a can. They're a 3-win team, at best without Aaron Rodgers. And then, the Lions with Jared Goff. How many games are they going to win? And Minnesota, I guess, would be the front runner there. Worst case scenario for the Bears is that they win this division or make a wild card and Matt Nagy comes back, because he is right now, outside of Mike McCarthy, who I love to make fun of, and I wish he was on the hot seat, but Jerry Jones has too much of an ego to admit that he made a mistake. Matt Nagy's terrible. I mean, just absolutely god-awful, and he's got to go. The question is, will it happen 6 games in if they're 0-5? Will it happen 8 games in? Or will it happen at the end of the year? But yes, I would say the top of the list, I think it was a great choice for that thumbnail. It's obviously Matt Nagy. Some other guys I've been thinking about here. I was trying to think of some wild cards, right? Mm-hmm. Vic Fangio, I think, is on the hot seat in Denver. I don't know how you could be a Denver fan or in that ownership group and think that he's a competent coach in any way, shape, or form. He coaches scared. He coaches boring. You're not going anywhere with Vic Fangio as your head coach. But how about this for a wild card? What about Pete Carroll in Seattle? Year after year now, it feels like there's this offseason controversy and, sort of waves happening in that locker room. Russell Wilson expressed interest in leaving this year. He's the oldest coach in the NFL. He's been with that team for a while. Do they get tired of his antics in Seattle, or does he just decide, I'm ready to hang it up, I can't deal with this? He's an energetic guy, but he's old, and there's just seems to be all this turmoil every offseason with the Seahawks. It wouldn't shock me if Pete Carroll is sort of looking in the rearview mirror this year.
It's interesting. Shy Picks is in here, big Chicago Bears fan. We've been going back and forth for years. But he brings up a good point here, too, because Chicago is now looking for a new stadium as well. And, they want to keep it inside the confines to get the tax money, do all that stuff. But even the Chicago Bears, who had one of the most iconic home fields, and it was outdated with Soldier Field, they turned it into an alien spaceship and made it the smallest NFL stadium. And it just it doesn't even fit the city at all. It looks like it should be like in Paris, France or something like that in the Louvre. Like, hey, let's just make this little tornado in the middle of Chicago and see if it works out here. So not a lot of things that the Bears brought back, but taking a look also at some of these NFL coaches sitting there on the hot seat, you're right. A few of them do bounce around. The ones that I do think are interesting are like Zach Taylor, who would be on the hot seat for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Sure.
But always my favorite thing is the Cincinnati Bengals ownership is so cheap that they usually don't want to fire coaches because you have to pay them out in full. It's a fully guaranteed contract. And always with, you're ragging on Mike McCarthy or Nagy. Once you become a head football coach in the NFL, you won at life. And I always get, they got to laugh at like Wilkes with Arizona, who got fired for Kingsbury. They didn't even give him a chance. 1 year's not enough. That guy cashed in for like $20 million cash the minute he was fired to go be a football coach again in the NFL. If you're telling me from a perspective, do you want to be a long-time coach in the NFL? Absolutely. But if you're telling me I signed up for 5 years and $25 million, you can me after 1 year and mail me a check that gets in 3 days into my bank account at $20 million and I'm free to coach wherever I want. They won, Kyle.
Won. Exactly. And I'm always fascinated when those coaches end up going and taking another job. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Who would want to sit around and golf and travel and make $20 million bleeping dollars? Are you kidding me? Like the idea of like, I got fired from this job. I'm bummed out. I'm getting $20 million.
They did him wrong, Kyle. They didn't. They gave him a full paycheck.
Yeah, they did him wrong. The dude is set for life. His grandkids are set for life. His grandkids' grandkids are set for life. Unless you're Mike Tyson. Yeah, hell yeah. Like, sign me up. I will take a 1-year deal, destroy a franchise, and live off that for the rest of my life. I'm super happy to do that. Absolutely.
No, absolutely. Now, we talked about some coaches getting fired. We'll obviously update those throughout the summer. We'll see who the first one to go is. Typically, NFL coaches don't get fired first 3 or 4 weeks, so it's going to take some
There's
time.
There's not a lot, right? There's not a lot of
not.
coaches that are obvious right now. Like, because there's a lot of, all the bad teams have new coaches, right? Like Dan Campbell's not going to get fired in Detroit, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of tough to find one. Like, it's the old guys, like Belichick, maybe. And it's not even like
there's no way Belichick would get fired.
Well, no, he would never get fired. It would be them retiring, right? Like, I just don't want to deal with this shit anymore, so I'm going to move on. So that's the kind of thing. It's different. There's not. And by the way, Zach Taylor, you bring up our college football guys, Gary and Chris. SBRpicks.com/NCAA football. Smart guys. Chris swears up and down that Zach Taylor is the worst coach to ever grace an NFL field. I'm not sure I agree with that, but he hates Zach Taylor, so keep an eye on that.
There you go. So some food for thought over the summer here. Now, here's one of my passion projects here. Every time, and nobody loves football more than Donnie RightSide. Not a single at least professional football on this planet. But I can't stand anything outside the NFL. And it's the issue that we have within the United States. We like the best of the best. We have the best baseball league in the world, best basketball league in the world, best football league in the world. The reason why soccer doesn't catch on in the United States is what, Kyle? It's third rate. The EPL is where it's at. La Liga, Serie A, whatever. Markedly better than the product that we have. It's why we don't care about soccer in the United States. But then all of a sudden, rich people are rich, Kyle, because they make really good decisions. Every single time another football league tries to come back, it folds damn near midseason with lawsuits, hemorrhaging of cash. And the only thing I can think of is when people start to get together with money and put together the USFL, the American Alliance for whatever it was called. There's so many football leagues, they're all mix mash with words. Is I can only think pyramid scheme, saying I made so much money off the pandemic. I need to bring the USFL back and write off $100 million in losses, bankrupt the league, and then I can write it off on the profits I made throughout the pandemic. The reason why the USFL is coming back, I have no idea. There is no appetite, Kyle, for me to sit home on a Saturday in April and watch bad professional football. I mean, you can watch the Jets. You can watch a lot of bad football on Sunday in the NFL. Why are the USFL, the AAF, the FAA, the UAF, whatever the hell they're called in any one of these leagues, continue to try to come back, only that we know it's going to fail, but we keep seeing them? Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Now listen, the USFL is very special to me. I was a very young kid just getting into football, and the USFL, when it first started,
only league that worked outside the NFL.
It had a chance until, I guess, I don't want to be too political here, and I don't want to piss too many people off, but you're 45th president. You're some people's hero, some people's most hated person, whatever. He got too damn greedy and got a $1 settlement, winning his, antitrust lawsuit. Congratulations. The USFL was awesome. Steve Young was the first ever $40 million man in professional sports with the LA Express. The reason that league was going to succeed was not because, it was a cool name or everything. It was because the good players wanted to go there. Jim Kelly, Steve Young, Warren Moon, James Lofton. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on of elite talent. Yes, of elite talent that was going to the USFL. That's not going to happen now. And so now the interesting thing is they want to launch 2022. And the XFL, owned by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right, who just bought the XFL, wants to come back as well. Now, I covered the XFL when it came back as closely as I could. That was a bad product, right? I mean, there just wasn't any talent. Did you watch any XFL games? Because they were fucking awful. I mean, they were just, you had Matt bleeping McGloin from Penn State throwing passes. And he was considered the best quarterback in that league. I don't know how there's going to be enough second-rate talent in the spring to have two leagues. You're not going to have the number one overall draft prospects like what happened in 1984 and 83 happen with the USFL. So are these guys going to go to the XFL? Are they going to go to the USFL? It's dead to rights. I'm down with spring football. I'd love spring football. Why the hell not? But damn, when you watch that last season of the XFL, that was outside of PJ Walker and the Houston Roughnecks. I believe that's what they were.
Horrible. The whole thing was horrible.
Horrible, just absolutely horrid. Unless a guy like a Trevor Lawrence is going to say, you know what, screw the NFL, I'm going to the USFL. It has no shot. That's what happened in the early '80s, and that's why they had success. Then they got greedy. They lost. They're dead. And they're going to be dead again because no player in their right mind is going to shun the NFL for the USFL now. It's not going to happen.
Put it this way. I played Division III college football. There's a reason why I'm not a household name in football, because nobody wants to watch Division III football over Division I football. It's the same concept here. And remember when the USFL worked out that niche back in the 80s where they played in the spring and, hey, there was an appetite. There wasn't a million channels and a million things to do back in the day with phones and internet, and people would actually come out and watch it. They tried to switch over, go head-to-head with the NFL, not because they wanted to overtake the NFL, but they wanted to force a merger, which would mean that those teams in the USFL would be acquired by the NFL, and it would be big dollars. It didn't work, and no football league has worked outside of that.
$1, Donnie. They got $1.
Yeah, imagine that getting a phone call. Donald Trump, you won the lawsuit. You did it. Your payout's $1, and the league folded shortly after that.
And by the way, Steve Young always talks about it. He's like, yeah, I signed a $40 million deal. I got like 10 grand. He got like 10 grand. I mean, he got nothing. They never paid him. But all the players did flock to the USFL. I mean, think like if you said right now, okay, the USFL is going to get Steve Young, Jim Kelly, Warren Moon, you know, you're like, oh, this has a shot. That's not going to happen.
Trevor Lawrence would go to the USFL and say, hey, well, now I'm seeing some things. Now, the USFL was pretty shrewd back in the 80s. If you remember, they were doing things to steal these players. They were moving up their draft ahead of the NFL. So if, let's just say, Jim Kelly got drafted to the USFL and they said, hey, Jim, the NFL's going to offer you $10 million. I'll give you $12 million right now to sign. He's like, well, it's about making money as a professional. I don't even know where I'm going. Give me the $12 million and I'll go. That was a very smart business move that they did, but obviously not being able to compete with the NFL fell through. It's not going to work. None of these leagues are going to work just because The Rock is behind something. And again, I joke by saying it, but I do think it's real. It's got to be a pyramid scheme or a tax write-off. The reason why smart people are putting money into this just only to lose it and go bankrupt within 8 months and not even be able to finish the regular season. We'll see if it works out. I doubt it will. Now, flipping down again to something that, well, like I said, this last one, near and dear to my heart, which I can't stand. Why does the NFL continue to send its product overseas? I don't know. And I know it's because money. I do get that. But you do not see Manchester United and Manchester City play their soccer match in the United States in the regular season. There's 17 games in the NFL. There's not 117 games. When baseball, like when the Yankees and the Red Sox went overseas to the UK to play a series, it was really cool. But it's not a big deal because you have so many games. The simple fact that these teams are selling themselves out, like the Jacksonville Jaguars, will play as many games overseas because they're filling up their dollars short term. We're not putting an NFL team in Germany. They want to put a team in there. Which guy out of college is going to be like, hey, awesome, got drafted. Hey, buddy, you're going to live in London. Well, wait a second. I'd rather get drafted to L.A. or Chicago and stay in the United States. It was always that barrier, even in the, let's just say, you know, Toronto Blue Jays or the Toronto Raptors. Hey, you're going to Toronto. Well, it's another country. I'd rather stay in the United States. Now you're telling them they're going to have to go across seas here. It doesn't work. I understand, Kyle, it's about money. But can we just leave this? You want to put a preseason game over there? Put the whole preseason game. Put the entire Eagles training camp in Germany to support the sport. But you got to be kidding me that we're playing regular season games and thinking about going to Mexico, Germany, and now the UK? Come on now.
No, what it is disrespectful. It's an absolute joke because you're absolutely right. Like, yeah, sure, Man United will come to the United States and play a soccer game for an exhibition. Yeah, or a friendly. But no, they're not like, oh, yeah, you know, a huge game against Man City? We're doing it over there in Tampa Bay. No, because they respect themselves more. Like, what the hell are we talking about? Fans in Germany don't know shit about the NFL, and who would want to play over there? First of all, I hate to fly, right? In the Atlantic Ocean scares the absolute shit out of me. That's the one reason I've never been to Europe. The Bermuda Triangle, all the crazy. When a plane disappears, it's in the Atlantic Ocean, and they always tell you on the plane.
I mean, the Titanic went down out there. I'm done. I'm not going.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Your seat's a flotation device. Is it really? Because how many planes go missing in the ocean and they never find it? Why isn't there a giant island of seats floating at the top of the water and it's going, oh, there it is. That's where it crashed. Because they don't float. It's a bunch of nonsense. So trying to convince me, if I'm a 5-star recruit, first-round draft pick, trying to convince me to fly to Germany when they don't even know the game, it's absolutely ridiculous. And what if you live in Jacksonville? You're like, man, I'm a season ticket holder. I love to go to Jaguars games. It's just what I do with my family. We do it every Sunday. It's a tradition. oh, we can't do it this weekend because they're out in Berlin. Get the hell. What the hell has Germany done to deserve anything? I mean, they've been the pariah of the world for what, the last 100 years? And they need to continue to be so. You need to learn your lesson, Germany. You don't get any football. Screw you, England. I hate the whole thing. Football games should be in America. It's our sport. When you go to Europe, what do they say? No, football is soccer. They actually disparage the NFL. And now these fuckers want to have games over there and take our sport? Absolutely not. Complete bullshit. Knock it off, NFL.
It's also an interesting concept too that you bring up. Now, keep in mind, Urban Meyer is now the head football coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Urban Meyer coached major college football. Obviously Utah was still big, but you're talking about Florida, you're talking about Ohio State. They are kings of, Kyle, we're going to play 7 home games and only go on the road 3 times. Yep. Because why? You win, you have an advantage at home. Now he's in the pros and his owner going, hey, Urban, we got to make money here. We're going to ship out a key game so you can play it on a neutral site over there where you can't control it and you're going to lose your home field environment. Imagine Ohio State going, you know what? I think this is good. We're going to play all games on the road to make more money in cash games. Like we're going on the road to USC. We'll play Florida on the road, Miami on the road, Oklahoma on the road. We're never going to play at home because we want to pick up money. How would that fly? Football is about a competitive advantage. And the biggest advantage you have is playing in front of your home squad. But the fact that Shad Khan is all about money, doesn't even care if they win. Oh, my God, my bank account's going to increase if I go to London. I don't even care if we lose. Send them off to London. So something to keep an eye on. Yeah. Because we are expecting expansion, but the simple fact that the NFL thinks they want to put, I mean, the EPL, would the EPL put a team in Chicago? What are we doing?
I just don't know how it works.
They're not even thinking.
How do you have a schedule with the team in London? It's 9 hours difference.
The US is such a big market that it would make dollars and cents for the EPL. It's why you look at soccer as a whole. They tried to come up with this Super League, and they're like, we don't care if it makes 3 times the amount of money. Respect the game. This is the way it's always been. But the NFL is like, hey, let's add. Maybe we'll have a whole Europe league versus NFL. No, man.
Which division, by the way, which group of owners is going, like, let's say you're in the NFC West, right? And you ask the 49ers, you ask Gronky, you ask, Bidwell, all these owners in the NFC West. Hey, by the way, we want to add a team to your division. They're going to be in London. So you're going to be playing. So you all have to travel to, like, how in the are no, of course not. Like you just ruined. That's absolutely ridiculous. They do not deserve an NFL team, and no player. People were mad at Eli Manning and John Elway for forcing trades and not wanting to play in cities. What the hell are you going to get when the team from London's the first overall pick? You're going to have a whole mutiny. Like, no, we are not going to play in London. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's dumb. It's just dumb.
Let's get the Rhine Fire back and make that an NFL franchise again. So we'll see what happens. So let's get through some of these topics here. Julio Jones saga. I thought it would have been handled by now, Kyle. It's June 4th, post June 1 cuts. He doesn't want to be there. They don't want him there. They want to clear cap space. I'm surprised it's not done. So when you take a look at the odds we're looking at, what's next for Julio Jones and who replaces him in Atlanta? I actually don't think anybody replaces him because it's just a salary dump. You're getting a draft pick back for him. You're not going to make another move for a wide receiver. You have some really good young talent that you're going to try to work with. So from that aspect of it, I'm just surprised he's not gone yet. We're still going to be doing this topic throughout the summer until he does move. But replacing Julio Jones is really the salary cap, not so much as let's trade Julio Jones to get a wide receiver back, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to let's replace Julio Jones. We need 1 catch for 36 yards, and then you're injured on the sideline. That's what you're replacing. And Julio Jones is really, really good and has been great. But the reason this is continuing on is because the Atlanta Falcons were full of shit, right? No one's offering you a first-round pick. No one's offering you a second-round pick because they know he's a 32-year-old wide receiver who cannot stay on the field. Does he have all the physical talent to do? Of course he does. Of course he does. But can he physically stay on the field? No, he's an older, more brittle version of Anthony Davis. We saw how that turned out last night for the Lakers and your boy LeBron. No.
What do you say, Kyle? Like Julio Jones, he says he came out and said, I need a quarterback I want to go to a winning situation, a quarterback with a big arm. So you take New England out because if it's Cam Newton, he can't throw the ball 10 feet. Yeah. Does that leave open? Like, did you really think like Andy Reid is so diabolical that he would just reach out and be like, hey, we're all in now for the next couple of years with our salary cap. Let's just go get Julio for a 3rd-round pick and see what happens.
I think that's interesting. I hadn't thought about Kansas City. That would be actually a great situation because he would be one of those, when you bring in a pass rusher and you only use him in pass rushing situations. Yes, he would be a situational player and a very good one opposite of Tyreek Hill. So those sorts of things would work out. And we talked about it before. Maybe Green Bay to kind of appease Aaron Rodgers. Like, hey, look, we're trying to help you out a little bit. Please come back. Please be happy. Please be enthusiastic. But other than that, to me, I thought this would be happen the second June 1st hit the clock. I thought this trade would happen. It has not happened. And what that says to me is no team has offered them a first. That's a complete lie. Because if they were offered a first, they would have crapped their pants to take that trade.
Midnight, June 1, he'd have been gone.
Yes, gone. No one's offered a second round pick because they would have crapped their pants and taken it. So right now you've got a bunch of teams saying, hey, we'll give you a fourth and maybe a future consideration in the next year.
Yep.
Something like that. And they're trying to decide if it's worth it, if they want to piss off their fan base enough. This one's interesting. I'm with you. I thought it would already be done. Now that it's not, it tells me that it was a bunch of smoke and no one's offered anything real for Julio Jones because they realize what we realize. He can't be trusted to be on the field.
All right, quarterback odds to start week 1. Oh, hey, well, what are you talking about, Aaron Rodgers? No, we got some interesting circumstances here to go over. We're going to go right through these and see what Kyle thinks and what I think. Let's start with the Denver Broncos here, starting week 1. Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, Brett Rippon, or any other. The odds in order here. Drew Lock plus 145, Teddy Bridgewater plus 145. Somebody else, maybe initials AR, plus 220. Brett Rippon, 1,600. To me, if you're a coach and Vic Fangio is as old a coach as they go, he's going to look towards Teddy Bridgewater and say, well, just keep it under wraps, Teddy. Don't turn the football over. Let's play old school football here. Too much out of Drew Lock. I think Teddy Bridgewater starts for them week 1 plus 145.
Unless Teddy Bridgewater's legs and arms fall off,
he has got.
I know, and that's the risk here, right? So I'll give out a parlay for this after
his leg has already fallen off once, yes,
and it has, and there's injury risk there, right? So that's to me the only way Teddy Bridgewater does not beat out Jesus Christ Drew Lock, who is just an absolutely abysmal NFL quarterback. Probably great in high school. It's probably awesome. His flag football teammates might be watching now, saying he was awesome. He sucks in the NFL. He's god awful. He's terrible. You have one of the most explosive young group of receivers you could possibly have.
Yeah, they're good.
And you can't even trust him to get to 13 points. Drew Lock stinks. Teddy Bridgewater is night and day better than Drew Lock, barring injury, which it's hard. You can't make your bets based on injury. You just can't do that. You have to assume they're going to be there. So as long as Teddy Bridgewater doesn't lose one of his limbs, he's going to be the starting quarterback week 1. He's miles and miles and miles and miles better than Drew Lock.
Here's a good one. New England Patriots to start week 1 quarterback odds. Cam Newton minus 185, Mac Jones plus 170, Jared Stidham plus 950. I have to say, Cam Newton at 185, he's going to be the starter day 1 unless he is hurt, which at Bill Belichick's age, and I just think he's at that point where Tom Brady left, and he's just trying to prove everybody wrong. You tell me Cam Newton looked horrendous last year. Well, I don't care. He's my starting quarterback. He works really hard. I actually do think Cam is going to get to the starting line at minus 185 here, Kyle.
I think the only way Cam Newton starts is at tight end, and they already took 2 in the offseason. If they start Cam Newton, like I have to trust Bill Belichick here. He's one of the best minds ever in football. He knows how to cheat. He knows how to win. He's going to start Cam Newton? You can't. Cam Newton throws the ball worse than I say it's Mac Jones. I would take that plus money on Mac Jones. I think they get into camp. They go, okay, guys, we're going to run a couple drills. We're going to run the 5-yard outs and the 10-yard outs. Cam Newton's going to dribble 4 balls in a row from 5 yards out because he couldn't throw a golf ball 50 yards out. I mean, Cam Newton is so god awful from the pocket. If Mac Jones is not the starter day 1, they wasted a first round pick. There is no way in hell you can respect yourself or respect that team with Cam Newton at quarterback. So I'll take Mac Jones at the plus money. I would never lay minus 185 on Cam Newton for anything other than, completing less than 50% of his passes.
Kyle, this one should be easy, but I think this might be a trip up here because Sean Payton is a little bit of a wild card. 2021 first starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Jameis Winston, a hefty price, minus 280, who I think should be the quarterback, and Taysom Hill stay in that gadget role. Taysom Hill's plus 220. Ian Book is 1,600. Plus 16, he's not going to be. Trevor Siemian, 2,000. They're just in there for fodder to even out the odds. But looking at this, is there a situation that they could really throw you off? Because keep in mind, it's the starting quarterback. So you can name the starter, but it's really, I'm going to assume, comes down to who takes the first snap of the football game in New Orleans. Can you imagine where, they come out and Taysom Hill runs a gadget play to start off, then Jameis Winston comes in? That could throw everything off, but Winston should be the starting quarterback. But you just never know, because Sean Payton's Taysom Hill's our quarterback. Taysom Hill's our quarterback. He shouldn't be your every down quarterback. But sometimes these coaches are hard-headed, like I talk about Bill Belichick going with Cam Newton. That's a wild card for Taysom Hill at 220 here.
Yeah, this is the toughest one because you're right. You're going to see both quarterbacks play for the Saints. There's no doubt about it. You're going to see Taysom Hill and you're going to see Jameis Winston. Taysom Hill's also going to play tight end. He's going to play fullback. He's going to play some wide receiver. He's going to do all that stuff. The risk here is I do think, for the bulk of the quarterback snaps this year and game one, you see Jameis Winston. But Sean Payton does dumb shit, right? Like, how many times did we see in the last couple of years Drew Brees lead the team straight down the field? It's 1st and goal from the 6-yard line. You're like, you know what? This drive has gone way too well. We've went 90 yards on 8 plays. Let's bring in Taysom Hill and run some stupid gadget play and completely ruin our red zone opportunity. Sean Payton overthinks things. So it wouldn't shock me if you see Taysom Hill play one, line up at quarterback and do some little quarterback draw or RPO with Alvin Kamara, and then play 2, Jameis Winston is in and taking over the rest of the drive. So that's the risk. I do think Jameis will be the quarterback. It's the right decision. Taysom Hill is not a polished passer. He is an athletic guy. He can do lots of stuff. Your real, true pocket quarterback is Jameis, but will Sean Payton outthink himself and try to get cute on the first play? That's the risk here, but I would still put my money on Jameis.
Laying the juice here. I think of all of these, the easiest wager is this one here with the San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to, unless he gets hurt, he will start game one. So you say, oh, that's not a lot of value. I think minus 320 is massive value. If you just read each and everything that Kyle Shanahan says, and it's true. Trey Lance hasn't played big-time college football. Trey Lance played like one practice game last year in the middle of the season. He's not ready. They're not throwing him to the Wolves with a ready-made team you think is going to get to the playoffs. Minus 320 for Garoppolo, Lance at plus 240, Nick Mullins at 16-1. Outside of injury, that's the easiest bet on the board here for me with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Completely agree with you. But again, there is the risk because Jimmy Garoppolo is very fragile. He's very brittle. This is not a tough guy who's going to play
out with
hurt.
Wild women. You never know.
Yeah, he does. And hey, those wild women can get crazy. I had a hell of a day yesterday. I'll tell you what. They can injure you. Next thing you know, you're like, why does my neck hurt? And things just happen. And Jimmy Garoppolo is 40 times more handsome than I am with millions of dollars in the bank account. So, but that is the risk. The only way that it's not Jimmy Garoppolo is an injury. Even if he doesn't play in the preseason, Jimmy Garoppolo will be the day one starter. You're 100% right. Trey Lance threw 300 passes in college against no competition, played half a game. That draft pick was all about upside and building for the future. If he's starting day one, things have gone horribly wrong for the 49ers. Garoppolo, easy pick, as long as he stays healthy, which I expect them to nurse him along. They're going to be very gentle with him because they know he's injury prone and they know Trey Lance isn't ready. Garoppolo will be the day one starter.
I like that topic. That's a fun topic here to say. Yep. We'll see how those numbers move throughout the summer because once information comes in and, hey, look who's starting with the ones here the first day of practice. We'll see if any of those odds do change. But let's put some final thoughts here on the show because it is June 4th. We're a month away from really kicking in the gear and start capping these football teams and seeing how things are going to shape up once we see these final rosters. So always exciting to talk football. Even though we do a lot of stuff here on the channels, we're right in the middle of the playoffs. We've got a great NBA show. We obviously have so much fun with the Major League Baseball show. Soccer coming in as well. A lot of really fun things to talk about as the season progresses. But we're never out of season, it seems, with the NFL. So many interesting topics to get in and out here. So wrap it up, Kyle. Some final thoughts here on the NFL offseason for you up till June 4th here.
I'm telling you right now, this is one of my favorite off seasons in a long time. There's a lot of question marks, but more importantly, it's just a breath of fresh air. The world is back. We're going to have preseason. We're going to have OTAs. We're going to have a home field advantage. It's going to be so much different than last year. I'm just excited for it. I can't wait to see what happens. And I'm going to have a lot of fun watching this AFC South. There's just something about it. The Texans are so laughable. I want to see Urban Meyer is just a can of a coach. I can't stand Urban Meyer, but he's got all this young talent. I want to see Trevor Lawrence. I'm excited for this year. The world is back to normal, and the NFL is going to be a big catalyst for that.
All right, let's wrap it up and get out of here on a Football Friday right here at sportsbookreview.com. Thank you guys for taking the time to come and say hello and talk some football. If you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. If you want some more information about the NFL and how the offseason is progressing, the link is below there, sbrpicks.com/NFL videos. No picks out there, obviously, because we don't have any games to go over, but certainly future odds. Be a better NFL better. And when the regular season rolls around on Thursday Night Football, Kyle, between those Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Dallas Cowboys, you will be ready for it. For Donnie Seymour, Kyle Purviance, we're the NFL team right here at sportsbookreview.com. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.